So back in Kathmandu, Catherine and I volunteered during our uni break in January this year with Antipodeans Abroad. They can provide placements based on your relevant discipline, and we requested to be placed with a speech pathologist. From the beginning, Antipodeans was very organised. We had a pre-departure meeting prior to leaving Australia and was then picked up by the in-country partners in Nepal. So to all the prospective students out there, don't worry, you guys will be in safe hands.
We spent the first couple of days learning about the culture and experiencing the culture. We were provided with an orientation session, which included a religious. We were blessed and presented with a ticker on our forehead. Also given the Pali names as well, and we were also taken to at our cultural dresses. And we learned a lot about cultural practices. It's actually a lot easier than we thought it would be, and only using our right hand when giving or receiving things, eat and things like that. And another tip we have for you guys is when in Nepal, when you're eating with your hands.
We're informed of our schedule in the months to come. So basically for the first 3 weeks, we were placed at a variety of health centres, including hospitals, rehabilitation centres, and also NGOs, such as the Self-Help Group for Cerebral Palsy, where we volunteered. And the last week, we did a health outreach program. So here are some photos of us during the religious ceremony and photos of us in our traditional dress with our host family.
So Nepal is one of the poorest countries, with 20.8%. Although the poverty rates have been declining, UN have made positive predictions over the next 20 years. Nepal relies largely on foreign aid, including our host family.
38.6% of children under 5 are severely to moderately underweight, and disease is highly prevalent in Nepal, even more so in rural areas where most of the population live. Living in these hilly and mountainous remote areas make it difficult for them to access city-based healthcare, something that the centre where we were placed is trying to tackle. There are some obvious differences between Nepal and Australia. Firstly, the cultural practices that we mentioned previously, including eating with our hands, not showing the soles of our feet. Australia is a rather multicultural society, and a lot of the cultural practices have been absorbed into mainstream Australian culture. Nepal has a geographic area of less than 0.15 million square kilometres with a population of 31 million. So over here, that's Nepal over Australia. So Australia is more than 50 times bigger than that of Nepal and has a population of 23 million.
Nepal is ranked 157. These values in country rankings are infants have 10 times higher chance. Adults have a life expectancy and 69 for women, which is approximately 15 years less than. People in Nepal make about $10 a day. As a result, they've got a much.
So Nepal is extremely dusty by day and by night. We found ourselves wearing our face mask 24/7 to protect our mouth and throat. But even then, at the end of the day, when we blow our nose, it's guaranteed to come out black. The road conditions are poor and there are no lane markings, so combined with the local driving style and the condition of the vehicles, it's a dangerous mix. Power cuts was also an issue we kept forgetting about. No power also meant no water. We were well equipped and had brought head torches from Australia. However, these things are just taken for granted. Electricity and running water are so self-evident that we hardly think about it anymore.
So we were placed at the CP Centre, which is a not-for-profit organisation that helps and supports children. families and their services. The centre was created in 1987, supported by international. The centre is in southern Kathmandu. Hours each way. So didn't bother us, as you can see, smiling away. Our working hours were 10 till 3. So we had to leave about 8 o'clock in the morning. In the rehab centre, and that consists of 2 physios, doctor who heads the team.
There are also teachers who help to run a 4-week parent training program for families of children with CP from rural districts, and they also run a small school for local children with CP in term time. So we were there during the holidays, so we didn't spend any time with the school kids. There are also a handful of physios who act as home visitors, providing home therapy to local children in 13 districts of Kathmandu for families who can't afford to take them to the centre. So we were able to contribute a range of ideas relevant to our discipline of speech pathology whilst observing and participating in therapy. We participated in some discussion with the speech pathologist as well as compiling ideas for some therapy goals, including lip rounding, AAC, which is alternative augmentative communication, assessment of feeding, and also early language stimulation techniques.
And we were also able to witness soft cleft palate on a baby who came in.
We only made evidence-based suggestions, and we only did what we were comfortable with. After all, we're only halfway through our education and not qualified professionals, so it was okay to say we don't know and not have an answer for it.
In a local context, the CP Centre global scale and having finished our placements, we're now aware how minimal the resources are.
As the speech pathologist was only there part-time, we couldn't spend every day of the week with her. On these days, the staff assumed that we could conduct therapy instead. We became aware of this on our first day when we were thrown into therapy, when the physio and the child's mother were just staring expectantly at us. So we had to immediately think of an activity without having seen the child's file or had time to plan. We were able to get through the session, but it certainly wasn't easy. We also questioned the ethics behind conducting therapy, unqualified and unsupervised by the speech pathologist.
And as most of the parents didn't speak English, we found it to fully utilise our skills, converse with the parents to get an idea of their child and their concerns. So even though we knew some basic Nepali words like come and go, it's difficult to instruct the child and their parents. So we had to resort to gesture or modelling. It wasn't always successful. And on our home visits, we witnessed to some of the crowded conditions some families face.
Photo on the left there, that's a photo during our home visits. And in that room, I think there were 2 double beds, the kitchen and everything just in that one room.
That was it, one room.
Yeah. Our knowledge of speech pathology, services and practices in Nepal is far greater, and we're aware of how little the average Nepalese person knows about this discipline. There is no course of speech pathology in Nepal, and for this reason, our speech pathologist had to study abroad in India. She's one of just 15 speech pathologists in Nepal, and not many health organisations have qualified speech pathologists.
And being part of a multidisciplinary team has increased our knowledge of roles of other health professionals. CP Centre has also prepared us working with children with a disability. Intervention relevant. On another note, we learnt to utilise the simplest resources like using styrofoam with lip routing difficulties. Ripped up a styrofoam and visual feedback as well. So we've gained skills in using adapt to whatever resources we have. As for the health outreach project we all worked in pairs to promote different health. Our topic was healthy eating. The night before, we spent our time with our head torch, and we were laughing. Yeah.
Our target audience for the Health Outreach Project were children from a primary school, as well as children staying in an orphanage. The English proficiency of the children attending school were excellent, and this made it relatively easy for us to explain the importance of healthy eating. On the other hand, at the orphanage, the children aged from 2 to 16, and it was incredibly hard to tell whether they understood our intentions of being there, because upon arrival, I think they were just really happy to just have visitors, which is kind of sad to see.
So, overall, we felt that through sharing knowledge and ideas, we made a small but positive contribution to the children, parents and staff. We're really lucky to spend time with one of the biologists in the country. Little is known about the good humour of everyone involved at the centre, and our motivation to work with disabled children.
So living with a Nepalese family gave us a unique perspective on Nepalese life, how they simply accept the lack of power, hot water or safe drinking water as part of their daily life. When we got back to Australia, we both felt very aware of how much we take for granted. No matter how dusty, poor or simple Nepal may be, we found it was always the people you meet that make the difference, as the Nepalese were incredibly friendly people. When we left Nepal, we took some great memories with us. This photo, where we took a bus ride with a goat. Don't think we'll forget that one. And here are some activities that we got up to on our weekends. Questions? In our placement, or?
I think I would definitely bring a lot more resources. We brought a few things with us, but something a bit more long term they could use, like maybe a software program which would allow them to create their own what we call AAC cards. So you could up a red cross, and that meant no. They could do timetables. If we'd have bought something like that would help, rather than the bubbles and the books that we bought.
Yes, definitely. Well, a lot of the kids were non-verbal, so we didn't actually speak to the kids much, but in terms of communicating with the parents and what goal we wanted to do and what activity, lip rounding, we want the kid to do this, but we couldn't really say anything. We could just model us, and then she'd be like, oh, okay, and look in Nepali.
What she's saying to them and what we were wanting to parents. So that was good. We just didn't get that.